In the previous video, the protagonist was honest about her feelings after not expressing herself for a long time. She really wants to live, and Mile Mang confesses that this is her desire too. I'm Nina, and in today's recap we will watch Doom at your service. The next day, the company's CEO calls Mr. Cha for a talk. He wants Na Jina to apologize to that arrogant writer and pay for the notebook. Mr. Cha, like any employee, is tired of the way he is treated and says to the man that he is deducting the value of his termination as he is resigning. Meanwhile, Dong Jiang and Mile Mang spent the day talking and eating delicious food. She really needed to vent. Mr. Cha goes to relax with a bat and hits some balls. Lee Hyun-gyu accompanies him and makes a bet with the man. Whoever wins can ask the other for whatever they want. In the end, it is Mr. Cha who wins and says that he will tell him what he wants later, when he finds something. The next day, Na Jina appears at Lee Hyun-gyu's cafe and makes him a proposal. The two will have 3 meetings to find out whether what they feel for each other is regret or love, and then they will be able to decide whether they will stay together. The man accepts, even with the condition that they do not exchange messages or calls, or that he shows up at her house suddenly. When leaving the cafe, Na Jina ends up meeting Mr. Cha, and when telling him what he just did, he talks about ending the contract between the two. However, the woman says that if he does that, she will tell her husband friend that Mr. Cha kissed her years ago so that the two would not see each other. The man thinks she wouldn't have the courage to do so, but if she wants to, he frees the woman to tell her. Then he gives her the umbrella he was using so that Na Jina doesn't get sick, and she leaves. The day was beautiful and cozy for Dong Jiang and Mile Mang. As he knew that the woman's family and friends were worried about her disappearance, he prepared a surprise for the protagonist, and when they arrive at the beach house, everyone is waiting. At night, when it's just Mile Mang and Suja preparing the food, she thanks him for calling and letting her know where they were, then comments that even though she and her sister are identical twins, Suja believes she got all the bad parts. Personality, bad mood, etc. And she adds that when her sister passed away, she started dedicating her life to the 2 children who remained as gifts, and since she was little, Dong Jiang would hide when she was sad or something. She was never one to talk about her feelings. Meanwhile, Na Jina and Sun Jiang talk about her love life. The boy guesses that if she gets as heated with another guy as she does with the one she's been in love with since she was a teenager, it could be that she likes them both, referring to Mr. Cha and Lee Hyun-gyu. However, as Na Jina doesn't speak names, the boy doesn't know who the two are. The next day, the protagonist and Na Jina go out for a walk and talk, and the writer tells everything that happened to that arrogant writer and what he did with Mr. Cha's notebook. Dong Jiang asks his friend if she likes Mr. Cha, and she denies it, saying that in fact she is trying to make things right with Lee Hyun-gyu so that the two of them can get back together. Mile Mang watches them from afar and feels the sensation that tells him that his friend God is getting worse and worse. He later tells the protagonist that he is going to the hospital to visit her. At the scene, the woman consoles him, saying that he will be born again, and Mile Mang asks her to tell him the answer to what to do about Dong Jiang. However, she only says that deities live and disappear for humans, that is their function. The protagonist appears at the hospital to support her loved one, and then they leave talking. He explains to her that this is what always happens to women. On the way, Mile Mang ends up realizing that a little boy would be run over by a motorcycle, so he runs to the hospital to take him. Dong Jiang is surprised that he stopped the event, and the man explains that it's because she saw it. After he started to love her, he started to find humans adorable. The protagonist's cell phone rings with an unknown number calling her, and when she answers, she discovers it is from the company's CEO. He asks her to go to the office, and if Dong Jiang doesn't go, he will sue Na Jina. However, nothing happens at the place that she imagined. The man kneels at her feet and asks the woman to help him. The CEO wants the protagonist to convince Mr. Cha to return to work at the company. She adds that the man is the son of the building owner and lives in the penthouse. The protagonist goes to Mr. Cha's house and is amazed when she sees the place. She is even more amazed when she discovers that the car parked every day belongs to the man. Mr. Cha says that he resigned because he couldn't stand working with that CEO anymore and that he is now thinking about opening a company and even inviting Dong Jiang to work in a good position after she improves. Meanwhile, Na Ji-na decided to stop with novels that look the same, where the protagonists are inspired by Lee Hyun-gyu, and create a new one, now inspired by Mr. Cha. Suja goes to the hospital with her husband Kevin and asks to speak to the doctor who talked to her a few days ago about Dong Jiang's condition, as it was Mile Mang. He is not in the hospital's database, and the nurse informs her that she is the protagonist's aunt. The woman doesn't understand how this could be happening and sits down. Some patients heard about it and commented to her that there are ghost doctors in the place. They think that Suja could have been another case that saw them. The woman suddenly starts feeling sick and ends up needing help. The protagonist is talking to Mile Mang in the meantime, and he says that if he went back in time, he would like to do things exactly the same way, find her and love her. The conversation is interrupted when Dong Jiang receives a call about his aunt and rushes to the hospital. At the scene, Suja comments that they couldn't find the doctor, and she doesn't want to hear any more excuses about her hospitalization. Kevin will find a better hospital, and the two will take Dong Jiang there. The girl tries to explain to her aunt that either way she will lose her life, hospitalized, with surgery, or just continuing without any treatment. Hearing these words cause more stress and pain in Suja. Kevin takes the protagonist a little away and explains that at the moment she needs Dong Jiang and her aunt to avoid topics that could cause her stress. The woman will need to recover. Mile Mang is waiting for the protagonist at the reception, and when she is leaving the room where her aunt is, she ends up meeting her friend God. The woman says she can help Dong Jiang. She can erase Mile Mang from her life and do the same with it. One will not remember the other, so the agreement will be erased too. The protagonist will then be able to undergo treatment like the other patients and face the end of her life slowly. In any case, her destiny, whatever her choice, will be to lose her life. Dong Jiang ends up accepting the proposal. In the next scene, we see the protagonist talking to her doctor. She will be hospitalized to begin treatment, and when he asks why she didn't show up sooner, Dong Jiang can't remember her reason. The doctor explains that this is one of the symptoms of her illness. After the appointment, when he is walking down the hospital corridor, he ends up bumping into Mile Mang, and the protagonist thinks about how handsome he is. Like the first time they met, the man reads her thoughts and says that despite his beauty, he is busy. Then Dong Jiang goes to Dalgona's room and gives her apples. The woman comments that before, the protagonist was so radiant and asks what changed. As Dong Jiang doesn't remember, he doesn't know what to say and says that because of her illness, she is afraid of losing all her happy memories. So Dalgona promises to visit the protagonist when she is hospitalized and create other happy memories with her. At home, Dong Jiang receives messages from her ex-boyfriend, who had deceived her about being married. He asks if the woman became like this because she was suffering for him and comments that she got divorced because of her, but that he forgives her. The protagonist doesn't understand what's going through this darling's head and blocks him. Her brother asks if she wasn't seeing someone else, as he has a feeling that was happening. The next day, Dong Jiang is admitted Na Ji-na is the one who will keep her company, and when the two are having a drink at the hospital reception, they hear other patients commenting on the ghost doctors. The protagonist comments that one day she saw a super handsome doctor, and the other patients think he could join the group of ghost doctors, as there are none who are handsome. Then Dong Jiang takes Na Ji-na to his vehicle and says goodbye to his friend. When the protagonist is shaking, her bracelet ends up falling apart and falling under a car, so she bends down to pick it up. Meanwhile, Mile Mang chases a man who took his own son's life in the parking lot. He breaks the criminal's bones, but when he realizes that Dong Jiang is watching him, he ends up letting the man escape. In the next scene, we see Lee Hyun-gyu bored at home. and when he goes into the living room, he notices that Mr. Cha left what he was reading open on the app, and the man picks it up to take a look. The writer's stories are very similar to what happens between him and Na Jina. Lee Hyun-gyu realizes that the writer's pseudonym is similar to her name. Meanwhile, Mr. Cha meets with Na Jina and says he knows that he is the new protagonist and needs to know if the woman likes him. When she questions the reason, the man replies that it is to know if he should try to steal Na Jina. Your friends. Returning to the protagonist, Mile Mang is surprised when he discovers that Dong Jaeung remembers him from earlier, and the woman starts asking why only she could see him. She starts to think that it could be because they both have unfinished business and that he is a ghost. The next day, that young writer goes to visit the protagonist, and in the middle of the conversation, he asks her how the story she had told him about the protagonist not knowing whether to save the world or who she loves ended. As expected, Dong Jaeung doesn't remember what he's talking about, and the boy says he thought of a sequel that the protagonist would live in a loop, go back in time, and avoid the moment in which she makes the decision, but even though she does do everything to avoid it, things would repeat themselves until the moment of decision was reached again. After they say goodbye, when she is returning to her room, the protagonist comes across her friend Deus. Although she doesn't remember meeting her, the woman comments that the roof is a beautiful place for the new hospitalized patient to visit. The next day, Mile Mang comments to his friend that he thought it was strange for a human to recognize him. This had never happened to him before. He notices that she is taking care of an almost lifeless little sprout and doesn't understand the reason for wasting time on this. The woman explains that that little sprout is Mile Mang. Meanwhile, Na Jina invites Lee Hyun-gyu to one of the dates. When she goes to drop him off at home, the man asks her if her pseudonym is Lee Hyun, and when she confirms, he says that he read her stories and recognized them, only the new one that he knows is not about both of them. However, he regrets having commented on it and soon says goodbye and enters his house. Returning to the protagonist, she ends up meeting Mile Mang on the roof, and when he starts to be unpleasant, Dong Jaeung decides to go to her room. However, in the elevator she starts to feel severe pain and the man ends up helping her. Afterwards he proposes to the protagonist the contract to end the world with her help. However, because she doesn't really believe his words, Mile Mang takes her to the beach, then makes the proposal again, when she asks his reason for faith. That Dong Jaeung can end the world, the man doesn't know how to answer. However, the protagonist does not accept the agreement and comments that she was tempted, as she loves this beach and feels that she was truly happy with someone recently in that place, she just can't remember with whom. Mile Mang asks about the bracelet on his wrist and Dong Jaeung can't explain why he doesn't remember, but he knows that if he goes without it, he'll start to have anxiety. Suddenly, when the man touches his face, the protagonist returns to the elevator with tears on her face, and he goes to her house in the same state. Then he realizes that something is wrong and goes to his friend God to find out. The woman confesses that she did something with Dong Jaeung, gave her a second chance, and with this information, Mile Mang goes to the protagonist to find out what she can find out about their relationship. God's little sprout comes back to life and she comments that certain things are inevitable. What did you think of these episodes? I hope you enjoyed the summary. Leave your suggestions in the comments and subscribe. If you liked the video, like and share to help me. Until next time.